we want to look at the issue of the tax reforms that the current Tinubu administration has put forward. Quite a few things happened this week. The National Economic Council, where the governors hold sway, concluded that the bill should be withdrawn for further consultations. Right after that, a day after that, as a matter of fact, the president responded and said that those consultations should take place in the National Assembly. To discuss that issue today, I have with me two leading Nigerian public intellectuals. To my far right, I have Mr. Mojeed Dahiru, a newspaper columnist and TV analyst. Mr. Dahiru, welcome back to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And right to my immediate right, I have a policy analyst and strategist who is also the group managing director of Global Investment and Trading Company, Malam Baba Yusuf. Welcome back to Inside Sources.
Thank you. It's good to be here again.
All right,
Prof.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's start from Mojeed. What's your take? You have the National Economic Council holding a meeting. As you know, NEC is a constitutionally mandated a body that advises the president on economic issues. And they said that, okay, Mr. President, pull back this bill that you sent to the assembly, let's have more consultations. And President basically said no. What's going on, Mojeed?
I think the president is simply trying to double down on what he believes is the best by way of tax reforms for Nigeria. A lot of work was put into the effort that has yielded this proposed bill that is to be sent to the National Assembly. And so I'm sure the president himself must have gone through, the letters of the bill and appreciated the intent behind the letters enough to think that it is best for Nigeria. And he's willing to allow the National Assembly through, their work on passing the bill into law to allow for any further consultations through public hearings, through committee works. So I think the president is that this is the beauty of democracy. I mean, without contesting or contestation of ideas,
yes,
so long as it's for the good of the people. So I think it's a very healthy development. And the president say, look, okay, well, I'm listening to your advice, but I think any observations you have should be taken to the National Assembly, which has statutory responsibility to consult even while they are trying to pass the bill into law. And it is within their prerogative to either reject the bill or pass it into law.
Okay, thank you, Mojeed. Baba.
Yeah, it's a very interesting development. When I saw the NEC coming with that position, I was smiling because the democracy is evolving, Prof, because I was thinking aloud, two feedbacks. First of all, the NEC as a body which includes all the governors of Nigeria saying proper consultation, blah, blah, blah. And then my constituency, the Northern Governors Forum, coming to say, hey, we have issues with this. And I was just smiling to say, it's very interesting. Mr. President set up this committee about a year ago.
Yeah.
And this is serious conversation. And the governors or all the stakeholders know and this is going to lead to a paradigm shift. I would have expected the governors with profound respect to have reached out, even if there has not been that reach out from the part of either the presidential committee. They have direct access to Mr. President to say, Your Excellency, your committee is not speaking to us. For example, that would have, engendered more consultation at that point.
Right.
And because in fairness to the committee, they've been visible in terms of speaking to the public as regards what they are doing. Although I have qualms with the fact that there's opaqueness with regards to the content that has been sent to the National Assembly. They have a website. I thought this is something that would have gone in there for more robust debates. But that being said,
you mean that the committee's
the presidential committee, yes, because
the bill is not there.
It's not there.
It should be there.
It's not there. So, this is for Nigerians. This Gestapo approach of doing things in silos is what leads to what we have today. But I'm still going to hold the governors accountable for this because Mr. President made a move. The committee had been engaging. If there's a gap, it behoves on the governors to reach out and demand that this is done. And of course, the public now will know that it has been sent to the National Assembly. The public have not seen it. One may argue that there will be public hearings, but we know what happens to those public hearings. That being said, the position of the president I align with. It is at the National Assembly. We cannot reinvent the wheel. The governors have representations. Nigerians have representations at the National Assembly. Then let's see how they can now, and that is the part I'm talking about. Let us see the influence the governors have on their senators and the House of Reps to ensure that whatever it is they want to happen in the interest of Nigerians happen, if it is for the interest of Nigerians.
Okay, so let's take it forward. Now, do you think, Mojeed, that we have had in this country quite a bit of pushback on major things by the governors? The rise in the powers of the governors in determining the fate of presidential candidates or even the direction of the party, has been quite noticeable. Do you think that the governors are trying to stall this tax reform? Now, many people know that our tax to GDP ratio is one of the lowest, anywhere. Do you think that's what the governors are trying to do? Are they trying to stall it indeed, in your view?
Okay, I think the governors, specifically speaking, and the northern governors, along with traditional rulers from the north and some other leaders of thought from that region, apparently have a problem with just one aspect of the entire gamut of the bill, and which is the principle behind the distribution of VAT.
VAT, yeah.
Which is going to be based on some level of derivation. That is, in simple terms, more of the VAT might be returned to where they were derived from, so to say. And this seems to be the core of the issue. I'm not interested in or they're against expansion of the tax debt or even increase of tax because it increases their own revenues as well. That's not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem now is if you use derivation to distribute VAT, they believe that some of the states in the north might not have as much as they're having now, while some other states might have, more. And so it will lose their own revenue. So this is the core of the issue. But in principle, I think that the proposition to distribute VAT, value-added tax, which is essentially consumption tax, along with the principle of derivation, is for me one of the most progressive pieces of legislation I've seen in the history of Nigeria when it comes to revenue allocation. And I would even recommend that to be expanded beyond just VAT to even company income tax and to personal income tax. I believe that taxes generated should be returned substantially back to where they are generated from to form part of the budgetary provision for social amenities.
In that...
that one is called taxpayers' money working for you. And let me also say this. Sometimes I wonder, who is a northerner in today's Nigeria and who is a southerner? Or rather, who is in the northerner or who is in the southerner? I say this because Alhaji Aliko Dangote, for as long as I can remember, lives in Lagos.
Yeah.
Has his headquarters in Lagos. His single largest investment is in Lagos. So Aliko Dangote qualifies to be a Lagosian by every means. Now you compare that to someone like, say, Fabian Wara, the developer of FI properties in Abuja, for example, the largest developer in this town. Yeah. All of his businesses are domiciled in this town.
And he's from the east.
He's from the east. So between Dangote, for instance, and Fabian Wara of FI properties, who is a northerner, who is a southerner in the context of tax payment and tax remittances?
Even in the context of business development in our country. So
what I'm saying in essence is, if you think that Lagos is going to get the bulk of the VAT when they redistribute it because of the principle of derivation, you must be rest assured that out of the 20 million plus that live in Lagos, probably half of that population are people from the so-called northern Nigeria. Or in essence, every part of the federated in Nigeria today is a microcosm of Nigeria. Yeah. Every part of it, down to Ekiti, down to Bayelsa. So you have, quote and unquote, I don't really like to use this adjective. You have northerners that live permanently in the south. Yeah. You have southerners living permanently. They have no second address in the north. So on whose behalf are northern governors really speaking for? So in essence, what this will do for me is that it will unlock, it will incentivize some level of economic productivity and leadership responsibility. Because no longer will you sit down as a governor, as a local government chairman, and you get allocation monthly without lifting a finger. So if you want to generate internal taxes enough to benefit by derivation principle, you must now begin to put those building blocks down that can boost your economy. And I say this because all of us will be beneficiaries at the end of the day. Every part of Nigeria will benefit. So I do not see the South as exclusively belonging to any ethnic or regional grouping, exceptionally. No, it belongs to all Nigerians. So for states that generate more of that, it is because you have more Nigerians from every walk of life living there, domiciled there.
That's why
they're generating that volume of tax revenues enough to benefit more from it. So what we need to do as you describe as public intellectuals is to now push for the true domestication and practice of the principle of democratic citizenship, where it is now practically possible and perfectly so to be Hausa and Lagos.
And be able to meet your aspiration wherever you are.
To be Igbo and Kano, to be Yoruba and Rivers, and to be Kwere and Oyo. We need to now push for democratic citizenship. We heard the news today that Ken Badenoch has just emerged as the leader of the almighty Conservative Party, the party of Winston Churchill. Today, he's now the leader of that party, meaning she's one step away from being the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. We need to see that here. So for me, this presents an opportunity to have a new conversation around nation building and economic productivity. And this might incentivize it.
Interesting. Madam Baba, I would like to have your own take. What do you think the Northern governors, how do you assess their argument, for outrightly rejecting the bill in their meeting earlier in the week?
Well, first of all, as far as I'm concerned, it's a reflection of what some of us have been saying. I am from the North, and I'm very disappointed with the outlook and the, mindset of the leadership of the Northern elites, in this particular instance, the Northern governors. Highly transactional mindset. It's not strategic. If you look at some of the arguments, particularly that issue of the derivation, I'm a student or I'm a proponent of allocation of resources based on derivation. That is the only thing that will drive productivity. This rent-seeking, commission collection attitude cannot move us forward. And that is the only thing that will chase out people that have no business in government to get out of there. You must have the mindset of value creation and value protection, right? And value innovation for you to lead people. If anybody you can do this, you just go, they bring allocation, you put it in your pocket somewhere. Part of the argument as a Muslim, the derivation, we say alcohol is haram, is prohibited. But the governors go and collect it in the agbada and put it and go away, right? And if we are going to follow that principle, we say, are we also eating haram? Also, it's not haram anymore. But come to think of it, within the same compound also, betting and gambling, there is a proviso that gives high notch of tax collection on betting and gambling. So I see some kind of balance in that regard. And as patriots, as leaders that they are, with profound respect to them, there should be some forward-thinking attitude to this. This running only, because as far as I'm concerned, this is not in the interest of Northerners or not in the interest of Nigeria. Especially when Northerners group themselves and say, hey, this is not in the interest of the North. What are we saying? You have a Northern Governors Forum. Governor Seyi Makinde spoke on behalf of the forum and NEC. I think that was good enough. You can go back, discuss as a subnational or a region, right, and push your position, at whatever it is. And it should be robust and highly intelligent, either through the Senate or through the stakeholders, so that we can have a better tax, system. For example, we should be having conversations about, yes, we should tax the rich more than the poor, and to ensure that within the framework of that bill, that is what is going to happen. Telling me you are going to take 25% from 1.5 million is not supposed to be, because as far as I'm concerned, with what has happened since President Tinubu came into power to date, the value of 1.5 million is less than $1,000 for crying out loud. And then so these are the issues I would have loved to see us chasing. And let me drive a one kobo advice for them to drop this. If we are going with this, let us
go forward and we should never look backward, like Mujid said, about looking at derivation and all that. And if I'm sitting and I'm advising them, I say, look, you know, when you start doing this and tomorrow you cannot say it shouldn't be done to you. Nigeria, northern Nigeria is the food basket of the nation. Why don't you sit down and look at the entire value chain of the food we provide to Nigeria, from mutton to beef to whatever, and the entire food. 70% of the food that is consumed in Nigeria and the West African sub-region, I can tell you, comes from Nigeria. So why don't we now come and be creative? Is it not VAT? Is it not? And see how we can extract value out of that, so long as the item is going out of Kano.
Exactly.
Those are the kind of conversation I would like us to be having.
Thank you so much. And quite a very exciting conversation, but because of our time, we have to wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Mr. Mujid Dairu and Madam Baba Yusuf, for coming to Inside Sources. And we believe, you know, I guess this is the view of the panel, that the National Assembly itself is a forum for these consultations to take place, you know, properly. They even have the authority to make it happen. And there you have it, another edition of Inside Sources. We always say here that Nigeria will prevail. That is why we are here. We will not relent, and we believe we will attain that greatness. Thank you for watching. My name is Laulu Akode. I'll see you on Friday.